Hello, football fans, and welcome back to another episode of Hurdle the Line. Yes, that's right. I'm back, guys. After a summer of taking some time off, it's not just me back, but it's the whole Monday Night crew, Tom and Ollie. But we're also joined, of course, by our newest member, who's going to be annoyed when we keep saying newest member for 17 months. But Meg, hello, Meg, and then special guest. Sam is joining us on a Monday night podcast. And then, of course, super producer Fletch is always there in the background. How's everybody doing? Hello.
Hello, hello. Very good.
Hello.
This is
Yeah,
this is an
very good.
audio format, guys. Come on.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
very good. Yeah,
Uh,
very, very good. Hope
Very
everyone's
good.
well on this fine
I
Monday.
I know why you're excited because the smells in the air. The autumn leaves will start turning because the NFL was back last Thursday. Hall of Fame game, guys. I'm sure one that Fletch stayed up and watched every last second of, which we'll get to in a minute.
yeah.
But are you excited? And we have games this weekend, which I'm sure somebody's going to be talking about at some point. But are we excited about some football this weekend?
Of
As
course we
as
are.
excited as you can be for a Browns fan.
Of course we are. Look, we've had NFL, like all teams are in training camp. We've had the Hall of Fame game. College football teams are now in fall camp. Football is back, and I feel I just yeah, it doesn't get better than this.
No, it
Doesn't
get
get
doesn't.
better than this. I think I
It's
saw the
that time of
stat.
year.
It's like 192 days, 1,160 something. If you count preseason plus NFL regular season and postseason plus all FBS games, like 26 weeks over 1,100 games, and we made it.
We made it.
You can tell there's three people smiling on this podcast right now, and it's Sam, Tom, and Fletch, all who had playoff teams last year. And then there's the two Falcons fans and the Browns fans. We're just like, yeah, they're going to pull us back in at some point, and then we're going to be disappointed. But
All,
we'll
all
talk
we know
about
is
that
pain,
later.
guys. All we know is
Yeah, all I
pain.
know is pain. Anyway, yeah, let's talk about the Hall of Fame game. And yes, that happens every year now when they induct new people in the NFL Hall of Fame. This year, the inductees were Sterling Sharp, most famous for playing for Green Bay, Jaron Allen, most famous for playing for the Minnesota Vikings, uh, Antonio Gates, great tight end for the San Diego Chargers, and then Eric Allen, not a journeyman, but I think you would say his Eagles days were his most famous. So, congratulations to those guys for making it into the Hall of Fame. I remember Jared and Antonio Gates more than I really remember Sterling Sharp or Eric Allen, but I do slightly remember them. But Antonio Gates, probably the biggest name on that list there. Don't know if anybody wants to say anything about them.
I mean, Jared Allen should have the single season sack record, but that's a conversation for another
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sterling Sharp, whose career was obviously derailed early due to injuries. His brother Shannon, very explicit. He always, wants to remind people that Sterling was the better player, even though Shannon was in the Hall of Fame. So now Sterling can join him in the Hall of Fame. Awesome moment for those two guys and their family.
Yeah, first
Absolutely.
brothers in the Hall of Fame. Amazing.
And Antonio
Yes.
Gates, the first player to never play college football to make the Hall of Fame.
Mm.
Yes, very cool. Played basketball famously in college. Yeah. So congratulations, those guys. There was also a game to celebrate it. The Chargers and Fletcher's Detroit Lions
Yeah.
played each other. It wasn't much as a contest. I think it was a little bit of there was only a couple starters that played for San Diego, I believe, but I don't think any for Lions. Fletch, how was the game? Was there anything exciting or memorable, or was it just
I
sort of
mean,
like, hey, we're watching a bunch of guys who aren't going to be on NFL teams here in about 4 weeks?
I mean, if you're a fan of the UFL, I mean, it was a great watch. You're gonna get to know a lot of these guys in March, but it wasn't particularly exciting. It wasn't particularly interesting. I think the only two names well, other than I guess yeah. Well, I know quite a few people on the Lions roster, even some of the depth pieces, just because you naturally know your roster a bit better. I don't think I knew more than two or three people that were named on the Chargers, other than Trey Lance and I can't remember who else off the top of my head. Um, it was yeah, that was about it. It's the Hall of Fame game. You don't really watch any starters. You don't. see anything particularly interesting. I don't think even teams put out, John Morton wasn't exactly going out there and going, let's try some of the new offensive playbook. It wasn't pretty, wasn't wasn't nice. It was a bit of a blowout on one side, but I don't really care. It was the Hall of Fame game. It means nothing.
Is Trey
But
Lance
no,
back?
Trey Lance is back.
Yeah. As I said in another Discord, as someone went, "Oh, Trey Lance looked amazing." I was like, he was throwing against some guy's going to be selling insurance in 2 months. Like, it's just
Yeah.
there's gonna be a guy in 2 months selling a car to someone going, "I played against Trey Lance, a couple of months ago." Um, and now that's it. That's the reality of the situation. It's
And if you're a listener who sells cars or insurance, we love you too. Don't worry, that was not a dig.
And Dan
it
Campbell
Um,
was not.
didn't
It was
mince his
not.
words, did he, for that Chiva about about the guys that did play, saying that, the majority of them probably not going to be on the team.
No. Is what it is.
Not the nicest thing to say, but
Well, no, he didn't say it in those words, but he was like, not enough effort, basically, which is, code
Yeah,
for,
I think
yeah,
the
you're not going to
wording
be it.
the wording roughly was if you show up with effort like that and kind of put on the field what you put on the field, it's going to be tough to keep you around. I think, or words to those
That was
effects.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
well, just as a little fun fact, I looked up 6.9 million Americans tuned in to the Hall of Fame game. And that, just to give you some perspective, the average uh, viewership of an NFL game during the season in America is 17.9 million. So almost half the viewership of America for a normal football game watched at least part of that game. We also, those figures are always fudged. That could have been turned at how much tuned in. But anyway, we're junkies for football. Moving right along. So as Fletch mentioned, we're all in camp. All the teams are in camp now, which also means this is the time of season when disgruntled players sit out of camp. The most famous this season is Micah Parsons, who is on his fifth year of his rookie contract. He has been arguably one of the top, four defensive players in the league since he joined. He's a vital part of that Cowboys defense that has, when they have had Dak healthy and were playing really well and winning 12 games a year with McCarthy, he was a vital part of that defense. He has said over the weekend that he would like a trade because of ongoing negotiations with Jerry Jones not going well. All I want to say, and feel free to give your opinions, guys, is we've watched this circus multiple times. And typically, Jerry likes the free publicity. He waits till the very end, and He signs his star players for a ludicrous amount of money. You can tell I'm out of shape, guys, with my mouth. Ludicrous amount of money when he could have just done the deal months before and saved the Cowboys. But he likes free publicity. Anybody have any thoughts on this? I don't think Micah Parsons is going anywhere. I think the trade talks is ridiculous. But
yeah, I mean at
that's
this point in the off season as well, who's divvying up 2+ first round picks for Micah Parsons? I just don't see it happening. But more disgruntled players in Dallas, as you said, as expected. Let's see how they handle. Obviously, we all saw how my team handled our star pass rusher requesting a trade this offseason. So let's see how see how Dallas handles it as well.
Yeah, and
yeah.
it's whether, obviously all the stuff that Mike have said afterwards, it's whether he can stomach it. So obviously Jerry Jones has been able to stomach it. He's done it multiple times to multiple different players on the Cowboys. So it's however long that he's gonna hold out for what he wants compared to what the Cowboys are wanting to give him. So just have to see what sort of arrangement they come to.
Yeah, very lengthy 3-page trade request. I mean, Miles's was only 1 page, so 3 pages. I think someone counted over 1,000 words. So he spent a lot of time on that. He's clearly disgruntled.
100%.
It's interesting how money will change that, but we'll see.
But yeah, as you
Um,
said, Chapman, he's going to end up signing for 50 million a year because Jerry Jones always leaves this to last minute and is terrible at this.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, we'll see. The other most famous, no, he's not famous, but the other big star player, I would say, that's also sitting out camp is Terry McLaurin, star wide receiver for the Commanders, and really vital part of that offense, but also had been a great Washington player for many years, where they haven't had any quarterbacks of note, but he was still performing at an elite level, I think. And then Jaden Daniels showed up, and The problem for Terry is he's turning 30 this year, which we all know that is a real decline for wide receivers, and he's wanting, money for past, like what I want to say is past performance, understandably. I feel like a deal there is going to get done, or he's just going to have to come in and play on this last year and then see where things go. It just kind of sucks for Terry because I think with the new ownership and everything and the new coach all coming in last year, I think he just sort of is the odd year out. And if it had been last year, he maybe wouldn't have been able to get locked down. But we will see. We will monitor that.
Yeah, I mean he's a cornerstone of that Western franchise even before Jen McDaniels got there, and then when Jen Daniels gets there, then he's his number one target. So that I mean the chance of him getting traded, I think, is basically none. It's just what number that they agree upon, I think.
As always, Tom, we're gonna play that game where I'm gonna try to say his name and I'm gonna mess it up and we're all gonna laugh, but I think I might get it this time. In other more UK specific news, Lewis Rees Zammit, who last year we covered famously coming in signing a contract with Tom's Chiefs, is going back to rugby. Tom, thoughts,
Yeah.
feelings, story?
Well, I'll say a little bit and then I'll put it onto Ollie as well as our resident Wales man himself.
Wes.
But yeah, he tried his hand. He played on a practice squad of both, the Chiefs and the Jaguars. But it's so difficult to play a sport that, you've never played before. You're learning a completely different discipline. So fair play for him to giving it, the best shot he could. And it's probably smart for him to go back to rugby while he's still, at an age where he can go and as as me and Ollie were texting about, Wales needs him, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm kind of happy to be honest. Like, don't get me wrong, it's annoying that he didn't make it. It would have been cool and that, but I'd rather he come back to Wales than be sitting on a practice squad because we are not very good right now, and could really do with Lewis Rees-Zammit back. So welcome back, Lewis. Can't wait to watch you in the red,
Yeah.
the real red.
There we go. And this one's from Fletch, which I'm glad he reminded me. This is very important. So for us UK fans, it looks like a new deal for this season is going to be signed with Sky for the NFL package that we've had over the last I don't know how long, but it took a little longer than normal. I think because there was probably more players in the field for games
Yeah.
here in the UK. And I believe, well, Fletch, I'll just throw to you. I believe Channel 5 is also potentially getting a part of this package.
Yeah, so we fed some information over the weekend and then Give Me Sport, the iPaper, I believe, have all weighed in on it and started to report on it. So I think fair game for us to now talk about some bits on it. The deal is imminent. I think we're only a few days away, if that, away from it being officially announced. I think it's all but been signed as of a couple of days ago that Sky will return as the UK's flagship for American football. Channel 5, however, will have a couple more fingers in the pie. They were obviously famously for the last couple of years been the hosts of Monday Night Football in the UK. For those of us, Meg and I as well, with a couple of the Ballers crew, had like a competition on Monday nights of who could last through the Channel 5 specific coverage of Monday Night Football the longest before turning it onto the Zone. No disrespect to Channel 5 at all. We love it. It was the NFL Network had specifically put us on with Bridget, can't remember her name, Maurice Jones-Drew, and what's his name from around the NFL? The one who stuck around with
Oh, Greg Rosenthal.
that's it. Hosting specifically for Channel 5 on a Monday night on behalf of NFL UK, which was great to see the NFL have put that on for us. And yeah, Channel 5 are going to have a couple more things in the pie. I believe they're getting involved on Sundays as well. I don't know if it's Sunday night football or 6 and 9 p.m. kickoffs. I've heard conflicting reports on this one, depending on who you look at, depends on what gets told. But it's also believed that there will be an NFL themed quiz show heading to Channel 4, hosted by Dermot O'Leary. Now, if you've been in the NFL UK Facebook group, you've probably seen this post about 60,000 times already. I've had this sent, I don't check Facebook more than once a month. I've had this post sent to me 6 times already that they've been, this TV company who produced for Michael McIntyre were looking for people to partake in a new NFL themed game show. I believe this will
Yeah.
be the thing. I think this will be it. It'll be on Channel 5 on a Sunday. I believe it's a Sunday as part of the wider coverage of the NFL.
I was going to say with that, the thing that I've recently heard is that they are apparently going to. So like how you would have like say like a 6 o'clock game, the game, and then when they cut out from the game, it'll go into this quiz. So it's going to be like running alongside the
That's a
coverage.
bit mad, that is.
And apparently, is it Sam Quek is also apparently going to be involved with it as well?
Dermot O'Leary, Sam Quek, and there's one other person I can't remember. Just please, for the love of God, don't let it be Vernon Kay.
I was going to say, please, not Vernon Kay.
Famous NFL fan Dermot O'Leary, that is.
Yeah, but Vernon Kay is a genuine, famous, UK-based, genuine NFL fan. But we've just, since I got into the NFL, it's been like he was kind of the only one, so that's all we got. Darren Fletcher is famous.
He's kind of been
the other one
shoved down your throat since like day one.
It was, but over the last 5 years, if you want anything to do with NFL UK, it's either been Vernon Kay, Darren Fletcher, or every now and again they get Harry Kane involved, which is lovely again. But like, please, for Christ's sake, man, someone new, someone different.
Wasn't Harry Kane meant to be coming to the NFL as a kicker or a punter or something?
He said later in his career before he retires that. I think I don't even the Americans might have a better chance understanding him than we do, to be honest, with how he speaks. But
well, if anybody's looking for an American host in the UK, I am available. I do have headshots, and
they are very good headshots.
I can come and read anytime.
If you're looking for a reference, I'll provide one as well for Chapman's UK-based NFL coverage as an American.
And just to remind you, you could still get your NFL subscription. This is not a commercial on the Zone for the next 8 years because the Zone somehow tied up those rates, and we won't get the YouTube product anytime soon that they have in America. That apparently looks and is amazing. But anyway, that is it for news. Now we're going to talk about why we're really here, guys. This is the time of year when people start thinking about fantasy football. They start thinking about betting. They start thinking about their team or the teams they don't like. They start thinking about what is this 2025 going to be? And we have a little bit of a game we're going to play that we hope will entertain you, but cover some fantasy stuff, maybe covering a little betting, but also just cover kind of our thoughts on players in the upcoming season. I have dubbed this Hot or Not. Now, for those of you under the age of 30, you have no idea what Hot or Not. Well, you know what Hot or Not is, but Hot or Not, when I was in college, there was a website. There were multiple websites, and you could click on a picture of a person, usually a woman if you're a man, or a man if you're a woman, and you could say hot. This was before online dating. This was just like pictures of random people, and you could say hot or not. And then it became a celebrity thing. Yes, it was college humor. You guys have no idea what I'm talking about. But anyway, early days of the internet, super fun, dude. It was a lot cooler than it is now. This is before we knew that all the robots were going to kill us. But anyway,
I'm sure most of those photos were of what they actually looked like as well.
And they were.
I'm sure there was no catfishes there.
Google it in your own time. But what we're going to do is we're going to play Hot or Not with skill position players. The idea being, for those of us, like this is why we have Sam here today, because Sam is our favorite. And I believe there's going to be some more fantasy type content coming our way from Hurdle the Line, which I'll let Sam tell us about. But it will also be for people like Ollie, who famously does not like fantasy football, but still has opinions on who he thinks will be good or not good this year. So hopefully this is an entertaining way of doing this. I am going to start with the most important position in football, quarterback. I'm going to throw to Meg because she's been uncharacteristically very quiet as our resident Scots woman. I don't know how to say that.
Scots woman. That's yeah.
Yeah, I guess Scots woman. Yes. I'm going to ask you to go first, if you don't mind. Is that cool?
Yeah. Yeah.
What quarterback do you think is going to be hot?
Oh, I think that Jaden Daniels obviously is up there. He's my most drafted across the leagues that I'm part of when I can get him. Um, but I also think Joe Burrow is going to have a better year this year as well. So
All right. So we're gonna go with Jaden Daniels. So there's no sophomore slump for Jaden this year, unlike CJ last year or some of the other quarterbacks in history. So we like we like Jaden Daniels. All right. Hot, hot. Who is hot for you, Tom? Now, I would ask that you try to avoid the top five obvious players in each position. Try to get somebody a little more spicy hot.
Okay.
Tom, do you have somebody for me?
Yeah, I do. I do. I'm gonna say Baker Mayfield is gonna be hot this year. I'm a Baker believer. Um, I love what he did last year in Tampa, and I think they've got a great roster. So I'm gonna say Baker is gonna be hot.
So you think the 40 touchdowns from last season, which was a first in his career and the most he's had by 10 touchdowns, is going to be repeatable in this offense with these weapons?
Yeah, I think so. I think they've got the best receiving core that they've had. Even Mike Evans said it himself. He says since he's been there, he's probably the best receiving core that they had. So yeah, I think he can light up the scoreboard, and I think maybe not quite as many touchdowns, but I think he'll have a great year nonetheless.
That's a good spicy one because if fantasy, you can get him pretty reasonably late, if that's your strategy, which, depends. So if you miss out on that
From
top five, he definitely has the potential to be a top 10 quarterback again. So that's
from
that's
from
that's
a
a
fan
spicy.
from a fantasy football perspective, he actually finished quarterback four last year, with in a standard PPR league, finished on 381 points. There were only actually on the same points as Joe Burrow last year. There were only two quarterbacks after that outscored him, and I'm sure you can probably guess who those two were. Um, but yeah, he's actually, funnily enough, on my not so hot list.
Ooh, tell us
And
more, Sam.
that's only because I don't think he's going to. I'm not saying he's going to be bad. I just don't think he's going to be a top five quarterback in terms of from a fantasy perspective this year. I think he's going to be probably somewhere around the QB 8, 9-ish level, and that's mainly because of some of the others that were lower that are going to end up being higher. So, um, funnily enough, the one of the ones that was on my list as being hot is Bo Nix for this year. And obviously we sort of talked off screen about how what's going to happen with that, but I just think he had a great starting season, opening season, and I think he's going to kick on from that. I think the one thing that he's probably going to have to work on is probably the just getting those last, like, when he's getting towards the end. I think he had 12 interceptions last year, which is quite good, but he needs to, I think, because he's not really a rushing QB, he needs to get those yards up, I think, in order to be in that top five. And I think he will do it this year. It's just whether they'll have enough in the wide receiver core to be able to actually manage it. I suppose would be the one risk with that. But I can see him being a top five QB next year, or this year, should I say?
Bo Nix being a top five QB. You're drinking the
From a
Denver
fantasy
PR.
perspective.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It helps. Let's get our last hot Ollie. What quarterback are you liking to see this year? Maybe getting into that top 10, top five, or somebody that we underestimate that you like.
Kyler Murray. I said the same thing last year, obviously coming off of his
Yes, come on,
ACL.
Ollie.
Looked pretty good. They went 8 and 9, but nearly 4,000 yards, over 20 touchdowns, nearly 70% completion. Looked really good in his kind of, coming off of an ACL injury. So I expect him to be even better this year, and I expect the Cardinals to be better this year. I expect them to be a frisky playoff team. Year two of Marvin Harrison Jr., year three of Gannon. So yeah, Kyler Murray, I'm still a believer. And one other quick little wild card one that I think might end up on quite a lot of people's bad, which I'm going to say because, of course, I'm the resident Caleb Williams fan. Still a believer. All the bad stuff we've seen, not buying it. I think Caleb Williams is going to have a good year.
Nice. I'm going to go quickly. I'm going to say Justin Fields. only because from a fantasy perspective, he's a very cheap quarterback who runs a lot and he has a decent arm to throw. And I kind of think this is his last chance at the Jets to really establish himself as a starting QB in the league. And the other thing is just for me with the Jets, I don't want really anyone on the Jets except for maybe Brees Hall this year. Not because I don't think, yeah, maybe, but on a cheap flyer. But what I would say with the Jets is I think Aaron Glenn makes their floor so much higher than it was. And I think we forget that that team actually had some talent. It was just so mismanaged by it being the Jets. And my bet here is again, Justin Fields is not somebody like I'm aiming for, but he's somebody in fantasy that like if I get a little bit further down and get him as a running QB, it's just so valuable. If I'm not getting like the Josh Allens, the Mahomes, the Lamars, the Burrows, I'd rather take Justin Fields than Herbert, controversially enough, just because I think I'm going to get more points there. But that's just me. All
He's
right,
got a guy in Garrett Wilson there, so Garrett Wilson is
yeah,
instantly
nothing
many
against Garrett Wilson
targets.
either.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so I think
college
they're
team
just going to
match.
be they'll be competent, and that's all. And the competent could potentially get you, you know, a decent average point score there. So especially in like a two quarterback league, Justin Fields would be a great second quarterback if you're drafting early. Meg, not. Who's a quarterback that you're not hot on for this upcoming season?
I think that Saquon Barkley is going to struggle to come with the same
Oh,
heat as he did last season.
we're staying on quarterback. We're
It's still
staying on
on quarterback,
quarterback.
so
But
Oh,
that's a
sorry,
hot knot. That's a
sorry,
hot knot. So we will
my
say
bad.
that. We will come back to that.
Um,
Sorry.
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not a
Why is
Lamar
that?
Jackson fan. I know that he puts points up usually, but there is going to be a ceiling at some point.
when
All
has there
right.
been a ceiling so far?
He's a two-time MVP.
There's going to be a season that comes up where he's not going to be as hot as he was, and I'm just hoping it's this season. It's nothing. It is personal, okay? It's a Ravens thing. It's personal.
I'm a
I
Browns fan and I don't hate Lamar Jackson this much.
I'm manifesting.
Wow.
Wow,
See, that was spicy. I like that. Meg.
that's very spicy.
Nice. All right. And we'll try to get these a little bit quicker, guys. Maybe the next time we'll go hot and not together. So, all right, Tom, who is the quarterback you're not hot on?
I would say Bryce Young, but that's just because I still think that the Panthers have a lot to do, and they don't have the skill position players. I think to be able to. Obviously, he took a bit of a jump towards the end of last year, but I just don't think that the way that that organization's run, and the skill position players that he's got, that he's going to be able to have an amazing year. So that's why I would take him.
So you're not buying the 6 games at the end of last year where he looked decently competent and
But he was
and
playing against a lot of bad defenses, to be fair, in some of those games. So it's
oh, I'm well
I'd
aware.
like to see him
Yeah,
succeed,
we know.
but it's I feel like it's an uphill struggle.
Fair enough. No Bryce Young for Tom. Sam, you're sticking with Mayfield, right?
Yeah, the only other one that I would be one he's going to be, it's more of a I won't touch him with a barge pole is Anthony Richardson because I don't know how he's going to perform. He could be amazing or he could be as crap as he has been so far. So he's one that I'm if I can get him very late and he's a third quarterback that I don't need to care about apart from for one game, I'll pick him up. Otherwise, I'm pretty much avoiding him like the plague.
Absolutely. Ollie, is there a quarterback you're just not excited about this year?
Oh, take your pick. Tyler Shook, Russell Wilson, the Browns.
Because any
The whole
any three of
room?
The
three of
whole room.
the Browns.
No, I'm excited for that. Come on. No, I'm gonna just go Tyler Shook just to get. I mean, I am a massive Tyler Shook hater. I wouldn't have touched him with a 12-foot pole in the draft. He got drafted in the second round, hoping that he doesn't do what Bo Nix did to me last year and prove me wrong. But no, I really, really think Tyler Shook is going to struggle. That Saints team is, other than Chris Olave, is not very good. So yeah, Tyler Shook for me, which might be unfair as a rookie, but I really don't like him that much.
I mean, at the
Now,
moment, he's last time I looked, he wasn't even going to be the starting quarterback for week one. It looked more like
Who
that it
else is
was
going
going
to
to be
start?
Rattler.
Spencer Rattler?
Yeah, it looked like Rattler was going to be the starter.
I'll be very if he doesn't start being older than Spencer Rattler, then his career is probably already over as a
I'm
starter.
excited for that. I'm excited for that train wreck, Meg. I'm assuming you are as well.
Oh
So,
yeah,
Well,
can't
it's going
wait.
to be bad. It's going to be
yeah,
bad.
we'll be discussing divisions and upcoming
If you want a guaranteed starter,
success.
Russell Wilson.
Yeah. My pick is actually might be slightly controversial here, and this is not me knocking this player, but it's more of I've just had this guy shoved down my throat and told how amazing he's going to be over the last year. And granted, I will be honest, I did not watch this team last year at all. I don't like this team historically. We all know why. But I don't really give a shit about Drake May. Ooh, and I don't cuss on the pod. I'm really tired.
Damn.
Look, I've heard how Drake May won 4 games last year. I know that team was abysmal, and more importantly, that coaching staff was just completely inept, and that was a bad team. I still think it's probably a bad team, but I've been hearing because I listen to a lot of Boston national media guys in the U.S. Bill Simmons. And I'm getting a lot of this like Drake May love just kind of shoved down my throat. Look, I don't wish him ill will, whatever, but I just feel like him taking them to a fringe playoff team in 1 year. Granted, Jaden Daniels did it last year, and this quarterback class across the board looks like it might be very good. And I'm not saying he won't be good. I'm just not that excited about watching a Patriots offense with a 400-year-old Stephon Diggs and I don't know what else.
Well, that's
I,
it.
Bob
That's all
Donners.
they've added, really, isn't
Yeah,
it?
so I
And,
just don't
and,
get. I mean, I know he runs, and I know that's valuable in
and
fantasy, but
that
I just don't
Trebek
want
I
to.
mean,
brought in Henderson as well, didn't they? The running back. So it could
Yeah,
be just let's try and run, let's try
see,
and
I
run
mean,
everything
yeah,
through him.
I'll say this. I don't think even if we say that, I don't think Drake May would be the. I don't think it's Drake May that takes them to even in the media rise garbage team to fringe playoff team. I think it's the
Mm.
combination of there's a much improved O line. There's now a Mike Vrabel in the house. There is now okay, yeah. Stephon Diggs is 400 years old, but he's better than what they had last year. The positions around him have slightly improved, mainly that O line though, and I think there's a combination of these things that turn them from again. That's 4 wins. How many wins are all those things worth? I think they're at least worth an extra 4 wins
Mm.
potentially. There's a
but just a
combination.
reminder: the exercise is about
No chance. No chance. 4 wins. No
specific
chance.
position players, and I am saying that I don't think Trent May will be hot. I
No, I
don't
know,
care about what their record is.
but I
No,
do think
that's
that
fine.
that shows into Drake May having a higher statistical performance record this year than he did have last year. Which I'm not saying he'll be hot. I'm not saying I buy into the cold side of things either.
Yeah,
I,
I get
I
it.
think what
I get it.
I think what you might end up seeing is more interceptions more than anything
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
He'll
because
be better.
he's gonna have to throw more and he's gonna throw to Stephon Diggs and hope he's there and probably end up throwing a lot more interceptions. So
And
he could be one that yes he'll probably end up with more yards and more touchdowns, but he'll also end up with more
yeah,
interceptions to counteract it as well.
there's
Yeah.
also if to throw everyone back to the draft in 2024. Ollie was with me on this one as well. Like commander in chief of the May train, and like I said, I'm if it derails, I'm derailing with it. So I'm not having it. I'm not having this either. I'm not having this slander. So
I know. I expect him to be good. I disagree with what those things they've made add in 4 wins. No chance. Only Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes can add 4 wins. That's massive. Yeah, don't get me wrong. He's going to be
I,
better.
I didn't say
I
I
Oh
completely
didn't
agree
yeah,
say
with that.
the
that. But
combination
my
of
But
the
that doesn't
wider
mean, yeah,
parts.
I know what you mean, Chapman.
I think Vrabel from my I mean the most famous part of those offenses were under Arthur Smith. And yes, Ryan Tannehill was a Pro Bowl player into those two, but that was, he was quite veteran at that point. They actually had good skill position, but it was all because of Derrick Henry opening up everything for them. Because as soon as Arthur Smith came to Atlanta and started doing what he did, it never worked. And anyway, I'm not saying I think Drake May will be bad or that he doesn't have a great future ahead of him. I just think this season, I think we're overvaluing him and like where he's going, especially in fantasy. I get it. He's a running quarterback, so that's much more valuable than in most leagues than the pocket passers. But I'm also just not buying that I think they're going to be a good enough offense to justify it. So that's just me. So
It's
all right.
interesting you say that he's a Russian quarterback, but I'm pretty sure I saw there was someone who I wouldn't. He's he Baker Mayfield rushed nearly as much as he did last year.
Yeah,
Right. And I'd rather have
that doesn't
Baker.
mean that doesn't mean he's not a running quarterback. He can run. It's just the scheme dependent on it.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, I mean, Bo Nix had more running yards than he did. But yeah, I get what you mean. But just to
But he's
kind of give
going
you
at but he's going after he's
He
still
also
going in
didn't
the
start the whole season.
Yeah, yeah, very true.
now I take that back. Now if he's a quarterback two on my team, eh. But anyway, I had to pick one and I was trying to pick people that were getting drafted, but that, whatever. All right. So let me ask you guys really quick. Should we go running back, wide receiver, tight end, or should we do tight end now? Because it's like we can just knock it out really quickly and then do the juicy running back, wide receiver.
Yeah,
Does that
do
sound
tight
good,
Yeah,
end.
everybody?
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Let's get rid of tight end. All
I've
right,
got a juicy tight end.
let's go. Well, you're up
I've
first.
got
That's perfect.
Well, for bad, do you want good first?
We are talking about football
Uh,
players, right?
let's go hot
Yeah.
first. Let's go hot first. Let's go. Let's go. Who's your hot tight end, Ollie? Hot
Um,
buns. Sorry.
Hold on, I wrote
Whoa.
this down. I wrote this down because I had one. Tucker Craft.
Oh,
Seven
go
over
on.
700 yards last year in his sophomore season. Obviously helped by Musgrave not being what he was expected to be. So I expect him to, grab that tight end one role in that offense. Jordan Love likes throwing to tight ends, so I expect Tucker Craft to get a lot of targets. And if he's any good as catching the ball as he was last year, then that could result in a 1,000-yard season and 10 touchdowns. And then for bad, Tom, forgive me for this. I'm not saying he's going to be crap. That's not what I'm saying. But Travis Kelce, I think we have started to see the decline in terms of I don't think he's going to be as heavily featured in the Chiefs offense as we've seen in his prime. I do think they'll start to, Patrick Mahomes will start to look to spread that ball out elsewhere, just given his age and all of that stuff. So I think we will see a down year production-wise from a Travis Kelce, which even though I don't play fantasy, I know obviously means that it's not very good for fantasy. And that's why I think I've seen him articles about him dropping in fantasy drafts.
I would totally agree with you, Ollie, to be fair. Even as a Chiefs fan, I know what the offense was last year, 100 targets or 100 catches for Travis Kelce is not going to happen this year. That's not realistic, for the age that he is, for, the production that he brought last year. You're not gonna have that, Rishi Rice, obviously barring the obviously the suspension and everything that will happen at some point. But
Yeah.
it's going to be Rasheed Rice, it's going to be Xavier Worthy,
Full year of
and
Hollywood
then,
Brown,
yeah,
hopefully.
hopefully, exactly. And then it's going to be Travis Kelce. Like he's not going to be the focal point of the offense as he has been for the
And
last
yeah, and that's what I mean. I'm not saying
number of
he's not going to
years.
be a top 10 tight end even. I just mean the idea of Travis Kelce that everyone has, that the average NFL fan will
Being
see
the
and get
league winner, like
fantasy
that's not
draft
going
and
to be the
pick
case.
on
Yeah.
him. That's just not
he's
going to be the case.
he's also losing some of those receptions and stats to Noah Gray, who has come on
Yeah, 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 100%.
very well the last few seasons. So
Yeah.
I could see him potentially taking more of the load to allow Travis to be more of an impact player in terms of around in the red zone and where he isn't desperately needed, rather than every single play
Yeah, I
being
mean,
sort of thrown
he's
down the
still going to
throat.
find holes in the zone, and he's still going to, be productive, but he's just not going to be the dominant player that we've seen in fantasy for a long time. So,
His
um,
touchdowns might stay around the same,
yeah, 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 because
but his
they will
yards are going to
target him in
go.
the red zone for
Yeah.
sure.
Very cool. Sam, do you want to go with your tight end choices?
My top tight end, well, my hot, I suppose my hot tight end choice, and this is someone who it's not necessarily that he's going to be in a top five tight end, but I think similarly to what we're going to see with sort of Travis Kelce and Noah Gray, I could see happening with Isaiah Likely becoming more and more prominent, and that obviously then losing Andrews a little bit more. I think he could become, a bit more of a
Isn't likely out?
playmaker.
Isn't not
Is
likely
he
in?
out? Is he? I
He
haven't
He's
might
seen
be.
out.
anything, but you
No,
could be right.
he's gonna
Oh,
start
he has
week
a.
one, I think.
Oh,
He's
right.
out.
Yeah,
He broke his toe or something. He fractured his toe, but he's gonna be back that end of training camp or something I've
Yeah.
read. So
yeah. So he's one that I've got as being probably hotter than expected. Not necessarily red hot top five tight end sort of thing, but he's one that I'm sort of looking at in terms of maybe sort of like deeper leagues where you're looking at a tight end two or maybe even a good tight end three. He's the one that I'm sort of thinking is going to be better than what he was. Um, in terms of a knot, I'm going with sort of a similar view to someone who was a top five tight end last year in Jonnu Smith. I think he's going to plummet because I was obviously Rogers is there, which is a big thing, and I just thought I'd have a quick look at the output of tight ends under Rogers over the last 5 years, and tight end 18, tight end 18, tight end 20, tight end 49, and then the only good one was in 2020, which was tight end 4. But apart from that, I just he's another one where he's going from such a good position, a single tight end, to being a dual tight end with Pat Frymouth.
Yeah.
I can't see him being anywhere near as good as what he was, and also adding in the fact that he's got to have to play with Aaron Rodgers, who, unless he's Tyler Conklin or whatever, he's never going to throw to him. So yeah, I think he's going to be really bad this year.
That was my
My
second choice.
my only argument about Jonnu Smith is Arthur Smith is the offensive play caller there, and I will say this is less Rodgers' show than it ever has been in his life in this space. And I remember Arthur Smith in his first pick as the Atlanta Falcons head coach took Kyle Pitts, and he brought John O. Smith in his last year to Atlanta and used him. He actually was pretty good for us 2 years ago. I think I get what you're saying, but I would just counter. I think he's gonna. It's just Arthur Smith's whole offense is about having 87 tight ends on the floor on the field if he could.
Yeah,
So
I've seen footage from Steelers training camp of them running 4 tight end sets.
so
So
I wouldn't say that I'm going out of my way to take Jonnu Smith, as you would say, Sam. But he could be a flyer tight end for me just because of the Arthur Smith factor. So just something to
Yeah.
consider. Tom,
yeah.
who's hot? Who's not? Tight end. Go for it.
I think hot for me, first one that comes up in my mind is Trey McBride, for the Cardinals. Obviously only had one touchdown last year. But that was still, he tried everything he could to get into the end zone. He finally did towards the end of the season. But much to the annoyance of me having him as a fantasy owner. But yeah, I think he's gonna have a better year in terms of like touchdowns as well. Because if you look at that, that Cardinals offense, obviously outside of Marvin Harrison, they don't have too much. They've got Michael Wilson, but I think he's going to be very involved in that passing game. So I think he's going to have, a breakout year. And then in terms of tight ends, not, I would say K. Dotton. For the same reason that I said about the Buccaneers offense, the amount of wide receivers they got, Chris Godwin, Abuka, and then they've obviously got Mike Evans as well. And they'll be using Bucky Irvin a lot. So I just don't think he's going to have, that production to be a top 10 tight end.
Thank you, Tom. Anybody got any response to that?
He
I
was
like
one I was wanting to drop a bit, which is a shame because I really like Otten, and
Yeah, I think he's a good tight end. Sure.
I've drafted him in a lot of dynasty leagues, and I'm now scared that I have this tight end who's going to drop massively. So I have sold him in a couple,
I
or
don't know.
traded him away. But
I don't know. You see, I like K. Dot, and again, I'm not putting him in. He's not my choice for hot. at all. But look, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try and say this nicely without prompting some sort of visceral response from Ollie here and being called a homer or whatever. Should Egbuka not be not walk into this team and be great in the NFL off the bat? We saw last year that when Mike Evans, who got injured last year, and look at his age and with injuries, you never know what's going to happen this year. You had and the injuries that they got on the offense. Baker looked to K. Dotton as a regular, consistent, reliable target, and he was receiving a fair few. Not just picking up small targets for big yards. He was receiving multiple targets a game. I think something like that will continue to go as the relationship between quarterback and tight end has continued to go through the season. You take that into the offseason, you take that into this season. You'll still continue to see targets, you'll see receptions, and you'll see yards again. Not calling it, wouldn't necessarily put him in top five. Could potentially for me be a top 10 tight end purely on the basis of he's clearly got a good relationship with Baker, and Baker trusts him in various situations.
Yeah, I totally hear that argument. I just think that Bucky Irvin's going to get more workload than he did last year as well, with the breakout year that he had. So maybe the target share just goes down slightly, but I totally hear what you're saying.
In the last 3 seasons that he's played, he's never been a top 10 tight end, but every season he's improved by 6 places. So he started off first season tight end 26, then tight end 20, then tight end 14. So if he carries on the same trajectory, he could be a tight end 8, which, you know.
And remember, tight end is a notoriously, not notoriously, historically is a position that takes a few years. Unlike some of the Brock Bowers and the Laportas of the world are quite unicorns within the history of the entire NFL. So,
Yeah.
I'm gonna just throw a little not spanner. I'm gonna throw a little like curveball at you guys. I'm gonna say 3 different tight ends. I don't want anybody to think about it. Just say hot or not immediately, because I think this is just an interesting position in terms of some of the variants. So I'm gonna start with the name. Just say hot or not, hot or not. When I say this name, Justin Kincaid.
Hot.
No.
That's for everybody. Hot, not?
Dalton Kincaid, you mean?
Are you on about Dalton Kincaid? Yeah, no.
Sorry. Dalton Kincaid. Sorry, I said Justin Kincaid because I was looking at someone else. Dalton Kincaid. Hot or not? Ready?
Hot.
No.
We're divided. All right.
I want him to be hot. I really want him to be hot.
Yeah.
Because I've got a lot of
You're trying to will it into existence, Sam, but look what we saw last year, man. He was
Alan does
he
not
wasn't that
like
guy.
throwing to tight ends, and
I was just about to say, Sam, from what I've seen from a non-fantasy avenue, I've never really seen him favour tight ends. I might be wrong.
No, he doesn't. It's really frustrating.
That. Yeah.
I want him to do well because I think Kincaid is a good tight end. I just don't think he's being utilised at the Bills. But I think what doesn't help his situation is probably the build up of a better wide receiver core in the Bills this year, with a few additional sort of like those backup pieces that where you would maybe see Kincaid get a few more. But I really, really, really want him to do well.
And Josh Allen rushing for a shitload of touchdowns.
Yeah.
He had the second most targets his first year on the team, so that's interesting. All right, next name, Colston Loveland. Hot or not?
No.
I can't remember. Is that the one at the Colts or the Bears?
The Bears.
Hot.
Maybe hot.
Tight ends have done pretty well in that Bears offense the last few years. I'm gonna go hot.
I mean, they got
Cole Kmet. I think he's still gonna be the number one guy. But I think
you don't take a tight end 10 overall to not give him a lot of. Do you know what I mean? They took
unless I mean Ben Johnson likes to run 2 tight end formations, doesn't he? So it's possible they'll both play. But I just think
I'm gonna stay hot. I'm gonna stay hot as well.
I'm going hot.
I'll stick with not. Not for if you're going based on the fact he was a first round pick, I'll say not.
I'm very vehemently on not my sweet tight end Prince will not have a good season. I don't Ben Johnson is not going to have a good year with this offense. I no no I
Jeez.
don't get what's funny. I don't think Ben Johnson's going to have a good year with the offense. Ben Johnson's already struggling to get his offense in check. He's already showing he's got an attitude problem with the
We're
offense.
gonna save that for the
Mm.
conversation for the Bears and the division, Fletch. Not to
I,
interrupt
ne- I,
you.
I
No
Let's
no
needed some
stick.
but
Let's
salt on my
stick.
dinner,
Yeah.
Fletch. So I appreciate that.
but I think this I don't think that well don't think you can really aggress that offense too much, but I don't think it's going to improve by much either. And I don't see anyone particularly cooking or eating in that offense this year, or at least for a couple of years. I'm sorry, but
I,
yeah,
I know this is like a joke, which is why I'm not biting,
why? What about it's a joke?
because he's the former Detroit Lions offensive coordinator that I've seen you be somewhat upset after he left, rightfully so.
Yeah, I've very much changed my tune on this one. Very much changed my tune on this one. So
Well,
It was all Dan Campbell. It was never Ben Johnson.
I'm gonna stop this right now because we're gonna have a wonderful conference pod where we're gonna talk about each team, and we'll get to go over the NFC North and hear all the wonderful takes from not the Homer Lions fans flash. I'm kidding. So Colson Lupton's kind of divided, so it's a hot.
Mhm.
And we're gonna do one more. Actually, we're gonna move on. Titans
Okay.
taking up too long. I was gonna do one more, but we're gonna move on. And just so the audience knows, if you're listening at home, Megs has some technical difficulties, and she has not joined us back. So anyway, hopefully we may get her again. If not, uh, Meg will hopefully have her back soon. Anyway, all right, moving on. We're gonna go to the deepest position, skill position in fantasy, but also within the NFL, and that's wide receiver. I'm gonna start because I'm the host, and I get to do that. And this is my most homer pick. So Fletch, I'm right there with you in the homer takes. But I'm gonna say Drake London this year is going to move into the top five of top wide receivers this year. And I say that mainly for one thing, and this is more of a fantasy take necessarily than him being, maybe. I mean, I think he did finish in the top eight this year with a couple of metrics, but I think he is going to be the go-to red zone target for Michael Penix. And the only way the Falcons will be any good this year is they if they this offense clicks, and it does have a potential, I think, to finally be a top 10 offense with the weapons and everything. And if so, Drake London will eat. He topped over 1,000 yards finally for the first time in his career after having Desmond Ritter and Marcus Mariota as his quarterback. But even then, he still performed. And I think with Michael Penix, with the potential that he has with the deep ball, I think he's going to be really good. Now, that's no huge thing because he still has been a top 10 wide receiver, but I just think he might take a leap into that elite place where he was drafted to be. And I'm just excited about his season. My not wide receiver might be even better, which is I don't buy George Pickens in Dallas. I don't care. I think I just don't see him changing his stripes. And I think the Steelers have a great a track record of getting rid of players like this right before they go off the deep end. We've seen it multiple times with multiple skill players. And I just think Dallas is too big of a spotlight and an even bigger market than Pittsburgh is. And I just think he's probably not going to respond well. Maybe he'll have a few good weeks, but over the long term, I just don't want George Pickens on my team as a wide receiver. That is my hot or not wide receiver. Who would like to go next?
I guess
I've
I'll
got.
go. Oh,
Oh
Tom,
yeah,
you
you
go.
go.
No, you don't. You go, Tom.
I've got a hot. I haven't got a not, but I've got. I think JSN is well. I mean, he's the number one target in for the Seahawks. So, um, I mean, it's a given. I mean, he had a very good year last year as well. Obviously with DK Metcalf going over to the Seahawks as well, not the Seahawks to the Steelers even. He's going to get lots and lots and lots of targets. So I think he's going to have a really good year.
My hot might surprise some people, and that is Ricky Perisol. And the reason I've gone for Richie, obviously got shot last year. Everyone knows that, was able to come back pretty quickly in just 4 starts, 400 yards, 11 games in total. But the biggest reason is because I don't know if you've had any check-ins on San Francisco this offseason. But Brandon Ayuk obviously coming off of an ACL injury. There's actually been no timetable on his return, so I don't expect to see him starting the season. And Jawan Jennings is also still dealing with the same calf injury from last season. Who else is Brock Purdy going to throw the ball to other than George Kittle?
And his timetable is unknown to return as well.
Exactly.
With
So
Jennings.
Ricky Perisel might be the only wide receiver out there. So Ricky Perisel. And my not, I forgot I'm supposed to be doing a not. Two, for the same reason. Actually, you know what? Scrap those two because that's boring. I was going to do Michael Pittman and Chris Olave because they've got they've got no quarterbacks. But I'm actually going to go for Deebo Samuel because I think he's a product of Kyle Shanahan. I don't think he is as good as people think he is. I'm not saying he's terrible, but I just think outside of that system, we're going to see his deficiencies more, show up. So that's why I'm going to go with Debo. I'm not saying he's going to be bad, but I've seen Washington fans being like, yeah, let's just trade Terry McLaurin because we've got Debo anyway. I would argue that Terry McLaurin is as important in that offense as Debo Samuel. I don't think he's going to be as good as people think he is.
Yeah, my thing with Debo was at his best when he was basically being a running back.
Yeah, for fantasy especially.
He just eats up yards when he's got a little bit of speed behind him. He's not an out and out target guy like a McLaurin. So yeah, I agree with that. I suppose my hot is and again, this is not because he's not necessarily you know he's not a bad tight end, but I really think that Courtland Sutton might actually break the top 10 this year. I think this will be a big one for him because, again, similar to my Bo Nix, I think they're just going to improve. And I think if Courtland can just sort of get a little bit of help, I think he'll still be the number one target guy. I still think he'll get he'll get the receptions. It's just he needs to then add the touchdowns to it, and I think that's where I think he'll improve. I think he'll get a few more touchdowns this year. My not. Did I have a not? I can't remember if I did or not. I don't have a not. I do have another tart, which was off the back of the Kyler Murray, which is I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be
Let's
another one who will have
go.
a massive increase.
Let's go.
He finished. What was it? I looked at him earlier. Wide receiver 30 in all PPR leagues or standard PPR leagues. I think he'll be again another one who will be close to, if not in, the top 10 this year.
Yeah,
I've been drafting him and getting him super late. Like not super late, but I've been getting value on him almost. And people just don't touch him because they're just like, oh, they remember last year. Good one,
Yeah.
Sam. If you remember,
I
you're
remember.
not. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I've probably a lot of the ones that have been said. And George Pickens is one that I've basically been completely avoiding in fantasy because I think that CeeDee Lamb is going to be the number one target, and I think Pickens is just going to get insanely frustrated, like Brandon Cooks did, like all the others, Amari Cooper, all of the others that were in
Michael
that position.
Gallup, all of those boys.
Yeah, they all get
you
entirely ridiculously frustrated. So he'll be the same.
said Sutton, Sam, because it's funny because I was going to say Marvin Mims. What's his kind of aspect fantasy wise or?
He finished. He was very low last year, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean for this year, I mean is
in terms of where he's being picked.
Yeah.
He's much higher. I think last time I checked, he was being drafted in like I think was it around the 12th, 13th round. So it's a lot higher than what it was last year. It was like 2021. I think there was one league I saw where he got drafted in like the third round, and I think that was just someone who was. I think that was a Broncos fan.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's one that he should improve on last year. He could be one that'll have possibly a breakout season, maybe.
I'd buy some Marvin Mims stock.
And then for me, for not, which Ollie's already said, but it's obvious. But I'll just say it, Chris Olave, as a not,
Yeah,
with the quarterback play that's there, and
and
the
the
amount of
concussions.
concussions and everything that he had. If he takes one more, he might be out for like a whole year or something. So, yeah, I would take him in the not candidate.
As far as hot and not, my main hot at the moment that I've got a few times, what feels like a sleeper position, Khalil Shakir. Um, 2023, the most targets he saw in a single game was six. 2022, the most targets he saw in a game was five. For the second half of last season, he saw no less than six targets a game, and that was only in a handful of games. The rest of him is was receiving 10, 8, 9, 12 targets a game. That second half of last year, he became a massive target for Josh Allen. And again, when you build momentum and trust like this with a receiver, and this is kind of what we're saying about K. Dotton, is once you have that relationship in place, it that tends to continue quite a bit. You don't tend to see that take a major hit going forward. Once you trust your wide receiver, you trust your wide receiver. Um, as far as another one of these goes, now I don't know if I can make it and not be called a homer, but Jameson Williams is a massive one. John Morton's got Jameson Williams running lots of different extra routes that he wasn't being allowed to run under the previous OC, but apparently it's homer for me to say so. Um, so things like that will contribute to Jameson Williams receiving far more targets this year, which will see him get far more yards and hopefully more touchdowns. But again, uh, that's just Homer talking. So
No, I believe in the Jameson Williams hype as well, Fletch, to be fair. You look back to last year, I mean, it was his first year with over 1,000 yards. I think he had 8 touchdowns or something as well. I think I mean, obviously, Amon St. Brown is still going to be, the most targeted guy, but, I think Jameson Williams will still get those touches when he's got that home run ability as well.
yeah.
So, yeah.
With Jameer
Jim,
Gibbs now
Jim,
taking reps at wide receiver, I wouldn't be too surprised to see a lot of those shorter routes, the midfield routes, also getting a bit more clustered and spread around among targets as well. So as much as high as I am on Amon-Ra St. Brown every single year, you may see him receive a couple less targets as well.
if it helps, his average draft round pick at the moment, Jameson Williams, is around the 5-6 uh, round. So again, a significant improvement on last year, where I think he was around 10.
Yeah.
So he's one that I think a lot of people are picking up as either a third wide receiver, even possibly a second wide receiver. So he's definitely one to watch. I've been trying to get him in a lot of leagues, but he's just not fallen the way I want him to.
Yeah,
So
I can't
Yeah,
imagine he did well last year, obviously with the suspension as well. So most people
yeah,
probably avoided him.
his
Yeah,
ADP
exactly.
his ADP
Yeah.
is wide receiver 25 this year. So again, a lot
What
better than what it was.
what was it last year, son?
Uh,
so
I
I
you said it was the
don't know why
10th
you'd
think
have
round.
drafted him because obviously there was a
Yeah,
looming
I'd be.
suspension, wasn't there? So
yeah,
True.
I think he was around 40, 41 maybe.
Oh, okay, yeah. So he's taking a
He was a lot
significant
lower,
cut.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I think a mixture of that, potential suspension. I think he didn't have he had an injury season the year before and that, so I think he
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
it was always
No,
that he
no.
wasn't going. We didn't know how he was going to play.
Last year wasn't his suspension year. It was the year before that. The injury was the year before. He's in year four now. So
What is he?
Oh,
last year was his first full season, and I know we got over 1,000 yards
Oh,
on the
season
season.
before, yeah,
At
yeah.
nearly,
But that's what I'm
yeah.
saying. Going into last season, people probably would have avoided him because of those
But
reasons, whereas now they're
Yeah.
not going to avoid him for those reasons. So you
yeah,
expect him to be
weirdly
high.
enough, he's one of those top wide receiver twos that we just don't really think or hear about that. I mean, not that we
Yeah.
don't think about it, but you go to the Waddles, the Smiths,
Devontae Smith, yeah.
yeah. So and or the Higgins, whatever, so
Don't forget
but
the Luke Fleury's Browns wide receiver too at the minute.
that's a great transition to our last skill position,
Oh
running
no, not
back.
no.
Um, since we do have Sam, our fantasy guru, our fantasy expert of Huddle Line here, I'm going to ask you, Sam, first. Who is a running back that we should get on our radar? This is one of those where if you got something deep, Sam, give it to me because like something. Oh, that didn't sound right. If you've got a running back that we can get on some flyers in the later rounds that maybe would pop for us every year, there's guys that we. Oh man, everyone's cracking up if you're listening at home. Um, anyway, if you can give us, if you got any of those tastes, like, oh my gosh, I almost went another way.
Sam, what running backs? What running backs? Late round running backs. Come on, feed us,
Oh,
Yeah,
late
give us.
round.
save
To
us.
be to be honest, there's one guy which I've been targeting. It's going to be interesting to see how his situation pans out. More so his injury with in the offseason. I don't think it should affect him too much, but someone who I think could potentially end up doing a lot better than his draft position is, and is Najee Harris. I think obviously a lot of people are going on about Amari and Hampton being the number one guy. I think Hampton will be used. I think Najee Harris will do a lot of the hard yards, and I think he'll see a lot of work. Whether that'll translate into points, I don't know. But he's one that I've been targeting as someone. If we're talking late, I think the problem that I have with running backs is in terms of fantasy, there's not a lot of late picks for me. It's a very difficult group to pick from. I think there's maybe a couple who could potentially do okay as second running backs who may break in, like like a Trey Benson could
Damn it,
potentially.
you
But
took mine.
I like the problem is there's a lot that are they would have to do really well to outdo the guy who's already there, and I think
Amari
that's where
Demercado?
I'm struggling.
I think Trey Benson is their running back one before the end of next
You
season.
reckon?
I think so. James Conner is 30 this year.
Hmm.
I think Trey Benson in his second year is gonna become that running back one. That's
Possibly.
why I had him, Sam. You stole him.
Sorry.
Well, no, at least it means that
It-
I'm, even though I don't play
yeah, it's
fantasy, I'm clearly in line.
I just there's so many. For me, the running back situation is so difficult to pick because I think you've got once you get past like your top, I would say 20 25, it's very precarious for me, and I don't like going deep in a running back league. So I tend to have a very small number of running backs, maybe three, if I can get away with it, with maybe a couple of loose ones. But apart from that, there's maybe someone. I mean, you know, I don't know how he's going to perform. And to be honest, I don't particularly, he's in a bad situation. But Judkins maybe might do okay. He's going to be more of
If
a
yeah,
if he gets the ball, if he gets the chance to actually do anything.
well, yeah, he has to be on the field first for that to happen, which he won't be for the first 6 games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So take him off that list. Dylan
yeah. I
Sampson,
mean,
though.
I'm not picking him at all. He's not wide. But then saying that, if we're talking just redraft leagues, I avoid rookies anyway most of the time, unless they're someone like Brock Bowers last year. I would have picked him at any point. But there's very few that I'll pick. Maybe someone.
Would you pick Aston Gentry this year as
Yeah,
a rookie, Sam, or not?
I would pick him, but I think he's getting a lot of overhype.
I'm
Personally,
assuming he's one of the top 3 running backs off the board.
He
he's not. He's used well.
no.
He is and he isn't.
Six.
We're talking redraft. He's around. He's in the top. He's at least in the top 7, I would say. But I think Saquon's obviously up there. He's always in the top 7.
He's
Jameer Gibbs, I think, is. I've seen him go number 1 of running backs because I think, like we talked about,
He can
his
catch the
wide
ball.
receiver, capabilities. Bijan Robinson is another one who's been going up at that point. Derrick Henry is another, and again, I think that's more just because he does a lot of work. And surprisingly, again, surprising or unsurprisingly, Bucky Irving's been another one that's been in that high conversation talks. But yeah, Jenny's been up there. But me personally, I'm always wary especially with a situation like the Raiders. I just don't know how well he's going to perform. Like I know in college he did really well. He played brilliantly in the games that he played, but I don't know. I just think that there's something that a lot of people are overhyping about, and I think he's going to have he may get a lot of help from Mostert. Mostert might provide a lot of help, which then allows him to be more creative and get those yards. But I don't think I've drafted a lot of him. If any, like
If
so,
that's the
he's
case, then I have him for my hot. I thought he
Yeah,
was
you
too good.
can.
I thought he was
you
too
can,
good
yeah.
to have for my hot.
Mm.
No,
Uh,
he's
he's going to be in a
he's
Pete Carroll offense, Sam. Let's
Yes,
just
yeah,
remember that.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
And with it
exactly
with a
my thought.
veteran
run the
quarterback.
Yeah,
damn ball is
yeah.
literally
That
what
is
I'm
Yeah,
exactly
and
my
thinking
thoughts,
here.
Chapman.
yeah.
yeah.
He is going to see a
I'm
lot of that
I don't
ball.
think he's being overvalued at all. I think if
Yeah,
No,
anything,
I think
I
they're
he's
going to
being
agree.
play
undervalued. To be
Pete Carroll,
honest.
play solid defense, run the ball. That's
I won't be
what,
surprised
I
if he
mean,
leads the lead in rushing.
Yeah,
yeah.
literally.
Guys, I'm just conscious right now of our time,
Mm.
so I want to get through these. So, uh, Fletch, do you got a running back that you are excited about
Um,
that is
into
hot?
I was gonna say outside of those top three or four, um, I've been I've noticed that Brees Hall's going a bit lower than I would have expected him to. I've even noticed a few drafts where his ADP is relative, like third round kind of thing. But I've been in a couple of drafts recently where I've got into the sixth, seventh round, and I'm kind of looking at the draft board and going, "Hang on, he's not been taken yet." Um, so he's someone who I think, given that, I'm going to class Brees Hall as a hot at the moment. Um, I've got the feeling that okay, in comparison to last year when you had an Aaron Rodgers, if you want the ball to be ran, you've got to hand it to Brees Hall. If you want the ball to be ran this year, you've got to Justin Fields next to him, and that might take some of those rushing yards off him. But I think a bit of Brees Hall disrespect there. Um,
I
Jonathan
think
Bruce
if
Hall didn't.
Taylor,
anything,
Bruce Hall didn't have
having
a good year last year as well. So like he's looking for a bounce back year. He didn't get
yeah,
the 5th year option picked up by the Jets as well. So he's out there to prove something.
yeah. I would say
I,
like
I think if anything, having Fields will only benefit him because like what we see with the way that Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson run,
yeah,
it's you don't know who's going to do it.
yeah.
So he could really benefit from that.
And like I said, I like Brees Hall. Like I said, I noticed that there's a few people that seem to be skipping on him, and again, there's been slightly later rounds where I'm like, hang on, Brees Hall's still there. Take. Um, Another one that I would kind of consider to be hot is Jonathan Taylor, and I'm just thinking with the situation in which the Colts are in, one of the what you kind of see from teams who have a multi-quarterback approach or potentially a multi-quarterback approach to the season. When you just have the one running back who's going to be taking that load, you will often see them get more and more reps, and potentially more and more yards. And I like Jonathan Taylor. I had him in a couple of leagues last year. Apart from the one moment last year, hopefully he's learned from it. It was Jonathan Taylor, wasn't it? Who dropped the ball before he ran over, before he broke the plane last year when it was Jonathan
But
Taylor who did that.
made up for it the week
Oh
after
yeah,
and
straight
held
away.
on to that ball.
So hopefully you obviously learn from mistakes like that and give me Jonathan Taylor as someone who I think is going to be hot this year.
He was my not list. I did
Mm.
not want to touch any Colts. I think that
Yeah,
team is going,
yes,
I think that team sneaky could be the worst team in the league this year.
yeah,
Sneaky, sneaky, sneaky. But
Even the worst teams, though, sometimes the play you just
yeah, yeah,
have
yeah.
no,
True.
someone
no, I
who,
agree.
Can be
yeah,
good for fantasy,
Mm.
But
100%.
I think if
Jonathan
anyone on
Taylor,
that
not a stranger to sort of just being like, No, I'm just joking. He runs very
if
hard.
anyone's going to be good on that team, it'll be him. I
That's
think if
fair.
you're going to pick one player, I think he'll be the best performing player on that team. But as a whole, the team will just be trash.
Yeah.
hmm
So,
Yeah,
but at
I,
what
I,
point does, as a running back who probably only has, who's, and I'm not saying he would do this, but you've only got a short amount of career and you look around and you're just losing games. You're like, I don't know.
Chapman, I've got one more hot. Is someone who was injured last year, plenty of, problems, staying healthy, but when he's on the field, and he always produces is Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, as you've just said there, Ollie, they got no one who they're gonna throw the ball to other than Ricky Pearsall. So I feel like it might be a lot of Brock Purdy handing the ball off to Christian McCaffrey. And him actually having a bounce back year.
I've got
Inter-
a quick one to finish if we're running out of time. I've got a knot. I don't think anyone's had yet. So my not is the entire Houston Texans running back room,
Ooh.
which pains me to say. Pains me to say. Of course, Nick Chubb being in there as well. But what excited me about Nick Chubb going there is that he would have a chance to kind of not take on too much of a load and be a bit more take less carries. And Joe Mixon's injured. Damon Pierce is injured. The only other running back is Woody Marks. Nick Chubb should not be the running back week one. I don't expect that running back room to be very good. And then one more good, Caleb Johnson, Pittsburgh Steelers, one of my favorite running backs coming out this year. I know Sam wants to avoid rookies, but I would buy stock in Caleb Johnson. Another guy that I expect to be their running back one by the end of the season, and I expect them to run the ball a lot. Obviously under Arthur Smith, setting up that play action, and he's really good. So
he was brilliant in college as well in his
he's
final
so
year.
good. I'm so annoyed the Steelers got him. He was literally.
I love that you say that he was good, but then Genty's overrated.
I think it's my thing with Genty is more the fact that the teams that he was playing is completely a different level to the teams for me that Caleb Johnson was playing. That's the only reason. That's, I think, because he is so hyped. I'm just very cautious about, because again, it's very similar, because this is what I'm probably doing it out of issues with what I had with Bijan Robinson, of being so high on Bijan when he came out of college, and him not doing as well as I wanted him to do. But I'm now very overly cautious with players like Genty that come into the league massively overhyped and getting burnt on it. So there's possibly it's from that. It is quite possible that he'll probably do exactly what I say he won't do, and he'll just light up the league and be a top 3 running back. But
well, thankfully he has Pete Carroll as his coach, not Arthur Smith. So sorry, Chapman.
I don't have Arthur Smith as my coach anymore either.
True.
I
also
one not, just as my one, and this is mainly because no one's mentioned him yet, and it's James Cook. I think the one thing that I think he really benefited from last year, and I think I was looking at his stats, is there was a lot of times where he got big yardage that he may not get this year, and I think he benefited from having, I think there was 3 or 4 where he had like 50+ yard runs, and I don't think he's going to get that as much this year. And I think that's where he'll lose a lot of his points.
He's still holding in as well at the moment.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think he's not going to be as good as last year, and obviously he doesn't get the red zone. He doesn't get the touchdowns in the red zone because Allen does all of that himself. So I think he's possibly one that, he was running back 7 or 8 last year. I think he could easily drop out of the top 10.
He did in that playoff game against the Chiefs, though. I was terrified of that.
Quick question for you, Sam, just before we wrap up here. I wanted to ask you, the Rams, as our resident Rams fan, what is that backfield going to look like? Should we be drafting any Rams running backs? I mean, it just seems like, it's always such a whack-a-mole with them. Will that be any different this year? Just really quickly while we have
I think, Kyron Williams is going to be the number 1 running back. And he was brilliant last year. I think he was in the top. He was definitely a top 10 running back. I think he was maybe 6, 7, or 8, something around there. I think he'll get used the exact same way he did last year. He may lose a little bit out to Blake Corum. I know Blake Corum there was a few games where we'd go a whole series where we'd just play Blake Corum, and it's possible that we'll do something similar again this year. I still think Kyron Williams is by far our best running back, and I think we have solidified our O-line to hopefully help him out. But yeah, I think he wouldn't be my top target, but if you're going as like a running back 2, he's the perfect running back 2 for me.
Nice.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Sam. And thanks for joining us tonight, Sam. This was hot or not. Hopefully well, we gave it a try. We'll see how we do next, if we bring it back or not next year, but at least it's something different. I'm going to throw it over to Fletch because I think he's going to wrap up the episode, or do you got more stuff we got quickly?
Well, we've got our final question of the week. If anyone wants to take part, I know that there's a couple of you who've Already done it. And now, because we throw this question out to our Discord, which we'll get to now, is if you are on YouTube, apologies for that. If you are on YouTube, head down to below this video right now. Just look, because you need to just look over here, because I know we're on in the background. You're not really listening, but come over here for 1 second. Look at the screen. Look below Sam and Ollie, right there, and head down into the description. Go to the links at the bottom of that description. And you will find links to follow the AAW network on social media, Hurdle the Line on social media, and all four of these beautiful bastards here also on social media. You will also find a link to join our Discord server, which has plenty of channels. And with football season right around the corner, we'd love to have you in there. And throughout the season, we can talk football, talk games, talk everything, and all these various other things, because we've got plenty of channels for you to get into in the Discord server, which is free to join. But it also means if you join that Discord server, you can get involved with these episodes. Now, we haven't done this for a couple of weeks, but I want to throw out there that we have a Hurdle the Line final question of the week. And that question is, what is an NFL statistic or fact that sounds fake, but is in fact actually real? I see these headed around on social media all the time. And before we get into throwing it around to the rest of the panel, we've had an input from Discord for this episode. Now, I don't want to read this out. I don't like this fact, but a promise is a promise, and I'm a man of my word. Talking Balls, the Irish NFL podcast, good friends of the network, they've dropped in that the Lions could beat the Vikings the next 17 years straight and still have a losing record against them. Yes, this is true. Yes, this is a fact. That is courtesy of Talking Boss. Please give them a follow, by the way, and listen to their podcast because they are fantastic. Now, let me throw it out to the rest of the group. Guys, do you have an NFL fact or statistic that sounds fake, but is actually real? I know, Tom, you said you had one earlier.
Yeah, I got one comes straight off the bat for legendary wide receiver Larry Fitzgerald, who has more tackles than drop catches in his NFL career, which is insane.
That's cool.
This might come as a shock to most NFL fans, but the Cleveland Browns actually have an all-time winning record.
Wow. Now that I'm shocked at.
Yep. Don't get me wrong, it's probably only in the last 3 or 4 more seasons the way we're going. 562 to 548 at the minute, but winning record nonetheless.
I got nothing. I was not prepared for that question, so
I've
I
got
can't
one
even think
other
of
one
it.
as well. I've got one other one for within the division that the Chargers, despite having the #1 offense in 2010 and a top 5 defense, still missed the playoffs.
The only one I know, but it's probably believable, is that the Panthers have never had had back-to-back winning seasons, but have won the NFC South 3 years on the bounce.
That's
Yeah.
my favorite
That
one.
sounds.
That
Nice.
is
If anything,
mad.
that's just impressive. It's
I mean, that just shows
woefully
how bad the
impressive.
NFC South is.
Yeah.
There are a couple I have looked. These pop up on social media every now and again. This question, and that's one of the ones I always have popped up, ready and locked and ready to load and comment in there. One of the other ones for me is that in 2019, Lamar Jackson's 1,206 rushing yards was more than 13 other teams' rushing yards. So Lamar Jackson alone was better than 13 teams rushing all season.
To be fair,
Well, he
that's
is a
not
running.
actually that shocking to me. Lamar Jackson's that good.
He is a running back after all.
Are we
Hey,
Posing
hey,
as a quarterback.
hey,
are we still going?
hey, come on now.
Because the one more that I thought of, it's a while ago, but with the Seahawks, they had a player that won Defensive Player of the Year despite the team finishing 3-14.
If that's the case, then Miles Garrett should have 5.
His name, do you know what his name was, Ali?
What?
Cortez Kennedy.
I
Awesome
remember
name,
that.
bro. Cool name.
Yeah.
Cortez.
Love that name. Awesome.
Well, I got nothing to join this conversation.
Fine, I'll say it. The Browns last won their division before the bloody Houston Oilers. There we go. All right, cool. Let's all get along.
That sounds believable, though.
I
And
think there's
all
another
right,
team. I think that's no longer a team that won their division more recently. But we won't go into that, please.
all right, guys.
Here's hang on. Here's one that I've just because I've gone into ChatGPT. I've asked one, and I need to get some official clarification on this because if not, this is wild. The Browns once drafted a dead player. In 1946, the Browns
Yeah, they
selected
did.
Cal
Yeah,
Rosser in the draft
yeah,
twice. He
yeah,
wasn't draft eligible the first time and had
yeah,
tragically died by the second.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Just and to be honest, Fletch, the worst part about that is that he's probably not even our worst draft pick.
Well, that's the kind of content you're going to get all season long here on Hurdle the Line. I'm really glad that we're all back here. It's been a long summer. I needed the break. And I want to say thank you to Fletch, who I've been listening. He's done a great, I think I popped in a couple times. The guys all popped in, but we're all back now. Sam and Fletch will be part of the preview shows, sorry, on Thursdays. Will be Tom, Ollie, and I will be doing the preview. Wait,
Review. There
we're
you go.
reviews.
You're
They're
Review.
previews. Reviews on Monday night.
He'll get it
Sorry,
figured out. Don't worry.
I'm so
In a
out of
while.
practice, guys.
In a while.
I need these August reps, guys. I'm in camp now. Um, Sam, before we get off, do you have anything you want to plug or say anything? We love having you on.
Yeah, we've so soon enough, I'm not sure when it's going to be very, very soon. Obviously, we're close to the start of the season. We are, as the AAW Network, going to be hopefully starting a new podcast which will be fantasy football related, called is it the fantasy? Did we come up with the name? Was it
Yes.
the Fantasy Den? I think eventually became.
Yes,
Um,
I had reservations over the name. I thought it sounded kinky, but Sam was like, "No, it's fine. Kinky is what we want."
Yeah.
No, Sam was like, "No."
And I just played right into that all episode long.
All night. And do you know what? We didn't. Chapman knew nothing of this either, so it's almost like you wanted
Just
to.
so yeah, so keep an eye out
Sam
for
popped
that
me a
for all
tenner.
fantasy related stuff. And I think we're going to have there's going to be two Thorpes on that, isn't there? There's going to be two Thorpe hosts. I think
Yes,
are both the Thorpes going to be on there.
I believe so. Yeah, so we are still looking for an additional, even if it's just some relief once every now and again. Trying to find an actual proper some extra hosts for this has been a bit of a pain. So, it will be on its way, and I believe to launch this. I haven't even properly told Sam this yet. I don't think, but I'm going to put it on public record anyway. So in a couple of weeks, it's on the 25th of August, we're going to do our AAW live staff draft on the pod. And we'll do it on a Monday night. We'll kick it off at about 8:15. And the first 5, 6, 7 rounds, however many we can get, we're going to try and draft live on the pod. And you can listen to us as we go through who we're drafting and why and doing all those kind of things. And that will be a part of the initial launch as we go into the season with the podcast as well. So, um,
Hopefully those will be timed around.
8 hour picks. Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Sam, for coming in on this show. We hope to have you back coming in. I know you got a busy schedule with work, baby, other pods, but it's always good to see you. Uh, Tom, Ollie, always great to have you. Thank you so much, Fletch, for all you do behind the scenes and all you do in front of the camera, behind the camera, on the side of the camera. We appreciate it.
You don't want
Thank
to
you
know what I
guys so
do
much.
under the camera.
I was just about to say
Oh
that.
my gosh.
Just about to say that.
Chapman, not
Thank you so
again.
much for Thank you so much for listening this long. We are Hurdle the Line. We're going to be with you all football season. This is our season 2. We're very excited about it. We keep growing, keep getting better. Remember to follow us on all that stuff that Fletch said underneath. Join our Discord. You can communicate with us. We're there, and we're looking forward to this football season. Hurdle that kink.
Ooh.
Right. Thanks for getting us taken off YouTube, mate.